The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show. This is brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. It's Dan, Michael and Rob as we do Heroes and Villains. Levi's, they're Hero of the Week. Every week. Every bloody week. Heroes and Villains, yeah, we pick a good and a bad person from the last 7 days. Michael, you want to do some discussion around format now as we do the Ken Bates Villain of the Week award to kick off this segment?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of Jesse.
Right.
So I had to split him out into categories. So we've got Jesse.
We should say we get nominations from our TSB Plus members as well for this and ask them to nominate people and give reasons why.
So we've got Jesse, tactics, stroke, style of play,
right,
game management, stroke, subs, and talking.
Right.
Are the three categories. So where do you want to start?
Let's do tactics and style.
Okay.
For 10.
Yeah, people hate it.
Right.
No name says the Wisconsin Warnock out of his depth.
That's the fear, isn't it? I think that's the one thing to remember is that when we were talking about this on the match ball, that when we lose, it brings to bear all those worst fears about where this might head and the style of football. But it can work.
It can work, but as Billy B says, only for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think Billy B sums up how I felt watching the second half as well. I'm in danger of switching off from this season because it was just boring. That was my main emotion watching that game. I was bored and I wanted it all to end.
All of it or just the game?
Just the game.
Yeah.
Just the game. The game.
Thank God for that. Yeah, my concern around the tactics is that you gather we've sort of appointed based on data and analytics, but none of this data and analytics has ever been really properly tested in this division at this level. It's been tested elsewhere.
It might work still. The thing is, it has worked for periods and it has got us in the lead against Southampton and Palace. So if we can do something different after that, then maybe that's okay. But I guess that's where...
So go in front and then don't lose.
Yeah, that'd be fine, wouldn't it? Which I guess is then where...
Leads us into...
Where the game management stuff comes in, because Gareth Matt says the passive management did nothing until it was too late.
Because, I mean, that was one of the accusations of Bielsa, wasn't it? The plan A, stick to plan A, regardless. Attack. We asked for better game management and we thought we were going to get it. But should we have maybe started to spoil like a bunch of horrible bastards after we got in front at 1-0?
I don't even think it's the frustrations necessarily with that. I think it's more in the second half when clearly something needed to change. And Marsh himself was a big advocate for 5 subs. He talks about wanting to use the bench to make an impact. He talked last season about he doesn't want to make defensive subs. He wants to make subs to change the game. And we didn't see that really, did we? And we haven't seen that for what feels like a long time. And I think it was after Southampton, he himself says, yeah, got that wrong. And it sort of felt like the same at the weekend.
Yeah. Jason Kay has mentioned it, hasn't he? That suggested it was a waste of space. Putting Gelhardt, a player that has got goals, assists, wins penalties and so on, putting him on for 8 minutes is laughable.
And he still nearly scored in that time. Well, he had our only, admittedly, very weak shot, but it was a nice little bit of setup. And Graham says as well that he just... strange substitutions, yet again, complete failure to adapt to opposition formation change. Because that's the thing, if they come out at half-time and with a different style, it's on us to go, well, this is therefore going to be difficult in these positions, but it felt like we just...
That's what we said about, like, what Moscow said, wasn't it, on propaganda about them chipping it over us, just deal with it.
Yeah, we made like-for-like subs, didn't we? That was the thing. It was just... And they were predictable as well, like, it was so obvious Bamford was going to go off.
Yeah.
Just because that's what we always do. And that... Gelhardt would probably not get long enough and that Rodrigo would get up front for a bit and that wouldn't work. It just all it felt annoyingly predictable, I think was the problem.
He talks as well. He says a lot and I think it's rubbing people up the wrong way. I'd sort of bracket this alongside, like Angus Kinnear's programme notes. When things are going well, people kind of tolerate them and laugh along with them. When things are not going so well, people just think, shut up.
Hitchin Mike says, Jesse Marsh, stop being so fucking cheerful and relentlessly optimistic and saying we played well when we didn't. Silly twat. I think that there's maybe a difference here, a little cultural clash on this. I know the American thing is kind of overdone and there probably is an element of him being harshly treated as a result of it. But he is very optimistic, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And we as a nation are not.
No, and I think particularly Yorkshire is maybe...
We're quite dour people.
It's quite a difficult place, I think, for people to be. I think we would rather have, like, gallows humour is is well received here.
Yeah.
And sarcasm is, and I don't think that's necessarily part of the psyche of Jesse Marsch.
I find it hard to necessarily hold it against him because I don't think it's his fault. It's just how he is. But yeah, it's not for me. And I remember early on when he first took the job, he was talking about flying into Leeds Bradford Airport and the guy at passport control saying to him, "Oh, so you're the guy that's here to save us?" And he went, "No, I'm here for us to save us." And I just thought, it's going to be a real clash of cultures here.
Do you know what it goes down to? It always comes back to this. If we're winning on the pitch, people are fine.
Yeah.
Completely.
If we're not performing, like, he can say what the hell he wants if we're winning, and he can rub opposition managers up the wrong way as much as he likes if we're winning or it's working. I think when it stops working or you fear it's not, you start to think, shut up.
And likewise, though, when we're losing, it doesn't matter what he says. People are just going to say, "Well, fucking fix it." Like, we don't want to hear from him at that point, do we?
No, and you don't want to hear. But I think Bielsa almost had it right in that he barely said anything when he tried to keep a lot of his press stuff as short as possible, and he'd just say, "Well."
Because he had a supreme level of awareness.
He'd say things like
things
the opposition were better than us, and that would be pretty much as he would try and get away with saying often after a defeat. Whereas Jesse looks for positives, and he'll try to talk up the performance in a way that it doesn't always merit it. And then you get to the point of, I mean, this isn't just a Jesse Marsch thing. This happened when Dave Hockaday was manager and when Warnock was manager, and you'd come in after a defeat and they'd say, "Oh, there were some really good things I saw there," and you thought, not really. Certainly not enough. Not enough to be cheerful on this. Wisconsin Todd actually makes a nice point. Says coaches so rarely know the difference between spinning optimism in the locker room when you're trying to create or maintain belief and spinning optimism to a public that sniffs out bullshit in a nanosecond.
Yeah,
and I think that's part of the.
But that goes back to the whole idea of self-awareness, doesn't it? And being aware of how people consume what you're saying. I'd be interested to know. I do speak to a few American fans just about Jesse, and I think he is of a particular stripe of coach that does this kind of the performative stuff on the touchline. They're not all like that because, you obviously don't want to tar everyone with the same brush. But there is, I think, that culture at a particular... There's a niche for it, I think. I don't know how widespread it is. Don't have enough experience of American sport, but it'd be interesting to know from American fans how he's perceived there. And I think there's probably a little bit of wishful thinking built into how American fans want him to be. They want him to succeed. We all want him to succeed, obviously. But I think there's more investment in it there in the sense that he maybe goes on to become the national coach eventually. And so they kind of want it to work for that reason as well.
And it absolutely could still work because of the position we're in and expecting to be in. You don't need to win many games and it can be judged to have worked.
Yeah. If we get two more wins between now and the World Cup in the games that we're expected to win, a couple of draws, it suddenly starts to look fine, and then you're less worried about it, aren't you?
Yeah.
And it goes back to the Premier League and just back to winning. Let's externalise our blame then, shall we? Or let's do all the Leedsy ones first, because Jackie and Aronson got a single nomination.
It's a good point. This 2 men to take a corner. Why? It's clearly not fooling anyone. Better to have an extra man in the box.
Well, do we do that so you're not sure whether they've got an in-swinger or an out-swinger and they pat their heads and stuff? That was fun.
I was going to say, that was the best bit of the game, wasn't it, when they were just stood there doing that?
The patting of heads was good. So, are we letting him off?
Or do we turn our attention to Mark Jackson for this because he's now in charge of set pieces? So is that his fault?
Yes.
Right.
Let's just say yes.
So Cooper gets a couple of nominations as well he's gone back to League One Liam again.
Yeah.
Against Palace.
Thinking he was prime Maldini against some of the fastest players in the league. Just stick to what you're good at and get rid. And someone with the name of just boot it Cooper, just fucking boot it Cooper has nominated Cooper.
Hell of a decision some years back to get named that at birth.
Yeah. But yeah, we know what Cooper was there nominated for, but it's hard to say, isn't it? Because when he wasn't in the team, everyone wanted him in the team.
Yes, and Rodrigo, the guy we've mentioned on this show as well, totally absent. This style amplifies his weaknesses and marginalises what strengths he has. Feels like it's over.
Can't afford for it to be over, Dan. That's what you told me.
Well, no, that's what Kinnear told me. Don't shoot the messenger here.
Yeah,
I think that plays into it, but I think they'll move him on maybe in the summer or when they'll let his contract run down. It just doesn't seem like it's going to ever work out to any consistent level, does it?
It's just so frustrating to still be talking about this. I was really looking forward to this season, kind of not having to have the Rodrigo debate every week, because it was like we seem to be signing players and moving on from him, and then a couple of injuries, and it's like he's playing every week still. You think, just doesn't. I mean, like people are saying he was totally absent, and Mark from York saying simply being invisible. The games where he's invisible, I get less annoyed at him because I don't notice him. Whereas it's the games where he's on the ball, and like Brighton at home last year when he was just giving it away.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'd never want to see him again.
Spinning around for ages, then passing it to them. Like, brilliant.
The board gets some attention as well. I like this now. I mean, you can dive into this quote if you want, but the name itself, more pessimistic than Michael, MPTM.
Very good.
I like that. Is there anybody who's more pessimistic than you?
Steve Nicol.
Yes, he is. And I think he's dour, isn't he? He's just dour about everything. Yeah. Somebody actually asked me whether your pessimism was like an act. It's like, no. We don't pretend on this show.
Nope.
No, it's genuine. He's like this. Like you believe everything's just going to at some point collapse around you, don't you? Like it'll all,
Correct.
Yeah. And it rarely does it?
Well, I don't know. We spent 16 years in the Championship. I don't know if you missed that bit.
Oh yeah,
that was quite bad. Have you seen your heating bill recently?
Well,
that's fucked. Are you on a variable rate mortgage?
Here he goes.
That's knackered.
Go on. Fixed rate for another 4.5 years.
Even despite what Liverpool are trying to do, the ice caps are still melting. We're all going to be underwater soon.
Fixed rate, and I don't turn my heating on.
That's the only way around it. In
Put on a jumper. More pessimistic than Michael is turning their ire towards the board. Rads and his clowns, the invisible 49ers, and so on and so forth. And again, the alternative, we pissed 30 million on to still not know his best position. Talking about Rodrigo again, then I guess. Yeah, I don't think we've invested that wisely, have we, since we've come up?
No, a couple of people nominating Bamford as well, Matt and Adsham, who says, I'm not buying him being rusty. No amount of WD-40 in the world could cure him from more often than not making the right decision, or not making one at all.
Right. So is that all the Leedsy ones?
Yeah, I think so. Somerville gets a couple of mentions for just not doing much, but you know.
Yeah, that's a bit unfair, isn't it?
He didn't have much time, did he?
He's a mere child. Zach is in Australia, nominates his daughter for, why is this then? So early morning in Australia, and she comes out from bed, having wet herself at the exact moment Liam Cooper decided to start golden showering the team with his foul for the first goal. From that moment, we never really stopped pissing ourselves. No more water after 5 p.m. and a tactical wee before bed for Liam Cooper. So for his daughter from now on.
TJ nominates himself if we're going to more obscure ones, because midway through the first half I said out loud, I'm enjoying this. What a colossal fucking idiot. I think I said the same, in faurness, after the first 20 minutes. It was like, this is good.
Yeah, I regretted after about 25 minutes saying, God, these are shit, these.
You see, you're probably, you've having a go at Jesse for talking. You two talk too much. Idiots. Tierney got some ire as well. God, Dermot Gallagher thought he got it wrong, did he?
He did. Yeah, which is basically never happens.
So Dermot Gallagher, former ref who flits between his native Irish accent and some bizarre English television accent that he puts on, doesn't he, for the Sky audience?
But yeah, he thought he was very, very fortunate to have stayed on.
This is Decore on Adams.
Yeah. So that's as close as Gallagher ever really gets to saying, yeah, he was wrong. He says, I think the opposite thing that happened could have happened is what he tends to say, rather than just going, yeah, that's wrong. So yeah, him. And everyone else nominated him too, because everyone hates refs. It's what we get. It's what we do now. I did enjoy Ben's one, because it's the most obscure bit of predictive text I've ever seen. Because Ben says probably the ref, whilst not a howler for both decisions, probably spicules could have had 3 yellows and didn't get sent off.
What are spicules? I mean,
well, when you look at it when you look at when those letters are on a keyboard, it's obviously decore, and it's corrected itself to spicules, and it's a slender, pointed, usually hard body. One of the minute.
That's you, isn't it, Michael?
One of the minute calcareous or siliceous bodies that support the tissue of various invertebrates, such as sponges.
Spicule.
So that's just for the obscure. Sponges are nominated.
Wow.
So there you go. And Lucy, to nominate an old referee, nominates Atwell for sending off Sinistera and subsequently taking away the player capable of producing something to keep us in the game.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough.
And Lucy does describe him as a fucking bellend as well. That should be added.
That is correct.
Didn't want to miss that.
Speaking of which, Zaha, I thought was quiet, actually, by his usual standards. But Idiot Bitch Andy nominates him, says the whole world's against him and he's thoroughly pissed off about it. He hates opposition players for daring to be near him. He hates his teammates for passing or not passing to him. Most of all, he hates football and having to live with the curse of being good at it.
Twat.
And James says complains at himself, complains at the ref, complains at his own players, complains at opponents.
That is how he comes across.
Just a whiny big bag of bones.
There was that nice moment where the ball went out for a Leeds throw-in, and it was just a completely normal decision. And he looked around like not knowing who to blame. And he was just sort of whining like, "Someone's fault. That can't be fair. I have the ball."
He's got resting bitch face, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think his face is a problem. He might. I think because it's just how he always looks. I don't think I've ever seen him look happy.
Yeah, no. Maybe he is. Maybe he is happy. Maybe it's all internal. Maybe he smiles inside. I don't know.
On other Palace moaners, you've got a couple as well. Katie nominates him for having a go at Koch after the head injury, sort of suggesting that Koch might have done it on purpose.
Yeah, Casillas and Puyol get a mention for their stupid fucking tweets.
Yeah, why? Just don't do that.
Ralph Rangnick?
Yes, it's an obscure one, but it's for Jean-Luc Colombo has nominated him for essentially bringing this style of football to the world, and Jesse Marsh, who's copied it.
Right. Okay.
And I suppose because it's scum. Well, Palace drummer gets some nominations, and some for Selhurst Park as well. Kim, who was actually there, was saying couldn't see anything basically.
Welcome to the West Stand.
Yeah. Couldn't see anything from half the game. Steps not steep enough. Missed the goal. I mean, it is. I've been to Palace a few times, and it is very old-fashioned. I sort of like it.
Yeah.
It is dreadful though.
You can't lament the loss of like old school football grounds, can you? And think that you'd want to go to some shitty four-sided generic dome thing.
I mean, I remember one time being there and I was right at the back, and it's one of those where you can just about see the opposite touch line because it's the pitch of the roof and everything. And there was a gantry in the way as well, which had John Solarco on it, who was having stuff chanted at him by Leeds fans.
Graham Smith sent a photograph pre-match of it. It's like it's like the old letterbox effect because you get the sort of darkness of the roof, stand roof, and then the bit underneath, and you can just see sort of a sliver of grass through the middle. But as I replied to him pointing out that did hide the view of Croydon beyond.
That's true. That's
sand,
true. And Matt rightly points out we never get anything there.
Right, who's your villain of the week? Your Ken Bates villain of the week, named after our former chairman.
It's going to have to be Jesse, isn't it?
Is it?
He's got the most nominations by a very, very long way.
It's not a popularity contest, though, Michael. We're going to go on qualitative evidence.
When you're categorising it, it's quite damning, I feel.
Do we not want to give him time to turn this around, starting with Arsenal?
Well, we were saying he was being too positive, so let's give him this as a negative.
Is this his negative reinforcement? Is this what Rodrigo likes when he likes his positive and negative reinforcement?
I think negative reinforcement. This was explained to us and we've forgotten. Negative reinforcements is when something
is a good thing.
Is when something bad stops happening.
So, is it like if you were to touch the fire and it's too hot, you wouldn't do it again because you've burned yourself? And
it's like if you normally get a bollocking for something and then you don't because you've stopped doing it. That is a good thing.
I don't know.
It was Jane explained it.
He's having
Sorry, Jane. We've
mangled
already.
We've mangled it because we're idiots. Right, the Gaetano Berardi. It's Jesse then.
Yeah. Do better.
It's not real, is it? Just make us happy again. The Gaetano Berardi Hero of the Week award.
It's probably the most empty entries I've ever seen.
Really?
On this, a lot of people just didn't bother. And Wisconsin Todd did actually nominate us for not making it a required field on the feedback form. So yeah, there were not a huge number of nominations, mainly for Rasmus and the Big Sexy Pirate.
Yeah, who did score highest in the out of tens as well that we mentioned on propaganda. So fullbacks not the problem, everybody else the problem.
Yeah, but yeah, Katie says, do we take the parent approach and give it to Kristensen for really trying hard and getting better? Which I think is fair enough. That's positive reinforcement, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got better.
Yeah, and just basically lots of people saying it was by far his best performance. And against
I do realise
opponent.
we're up against Arsenal this weekend, as we've just been speaking about. So there's time yet.
It'd be Martin. He can't do much worse than Drame last year, can he, against Martinelli?
I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold didn't do great at the weekend. So
He did not. But he did it in a green way.
Yeah, but he's spent anyway, and we all know that.
24. Absolutely gone.
Dear me. The Big Sexy Pirate. I want to pull out some of the mentions in here for the Big Sexy Pirate.
During the game, I came up with possibly the worst chant ever, didn't I? Of saying, like the "Oh, you shit bastard," we do "You sexy pirate," and then give an "R," but it's never going to happen.
You've said it on here now as well.
It's obviously never happened, never could.
You try to get your hook into the cop at the weekend.
Yeah, he was good though, wasn't he? MG Dodger says he's now become a big, beautiful, marauding left back.
Yeah. Yes. Ryan, who subscribes to Moan, is back. Pascal, just love the great big Cali lookalike. That's Khali. Is that a wrestler?
He's a wrestler. I had to look him up as well.
Yeah. He's got a strong jawline.
I
got the hair.
It's a harsh lookalike. Have you ever seen The Mask? He looks a bit like
the Jim Carrey film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he puts the mask on and
he gets that accentuated kind of face.
He looks like a Pascal Struijk version.
Less green though.
Of that. Yeah, less green. Less She-Hulk. Not a handsome man though, I wouldn't say, Cali, although
would you say it to his face?
No. It's all just for show, that muscle. I'm sure he's not very tough at all, despite the fact he appears to be a giant.
So those are the front runners. Who else have we got nominations-wise?
I think Lucy's nomination also needs to be mentioned because I didn't know this. It said there aren't many men with butterfly tattoos that can be as damn confident and sexy as him. I didn't know he had a butterfly tattoo.
I mean, how big is it? Is it like across his whole shoulder blades, down his back?
Is it like your one that you've got on your hip? Little sexy one?
Next to the dolphin.
Next to the dolphin, of course.
And the Chinese symbol, so and as well.
Yeah, and the juicy written above your, just above the arse as well.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, what an image.
Little Tasmanian devil on the tit. That's always a nice look. All the classy ones.
Dear. Who else is not getting the tramp stamps this week then? Who else?
The World Cup gets a nomination, just for giving us a break from it. But if we're sticking on Leeds things...
I feel like there's quite a lot you could criticise about the World Cup. Giving us a bit of a break doesn't necessarily mitigate all the other stuff.
Yeah, Cock gets a couple of nominations, some for playing well, and a couple for making Ayew bleed, basically. James Weller describes him as an endless mass of head clashes. He does get one every game, doesn't he? And also someone points out that they hope him and the big sexy pirate dress up as pirates for Halloween together.
That would be good.
Because they would both look good.
Yeah, Cock would pass as a pirate, although he does have sort of World War I pilot vibes about him with that tash, doesn't he? Like you can imagine him with a scarf billowing backwards.
Given he's German, do you want to talk about World War I?
Hadn't thought about it from that angle.
Okay.
So we'll scrap that. Move on to, speaking of pilots, the people... Airport/plane people this is the heading. Thomas wants to nominate the people who safely got the team off the aeroplane.
Although it turned, we didn't even talk about what actually happened, did we, in the news? But nothing really happened. There was a bit of smoke.
Like I said, if I was on a plane and smoke was in the cabin or in the cockpit, or if the pilot came over and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, just to make you aware, there's some smoke in the cockpit, so I'm going to be landing in a minute," you'd fucking shit your pants.
Yeah, true.
Well, what you would think is, I knew this would happen.
See, oddly enough, I don't really worry when I'm on a plane.
Yeah.
I really hope there's no one flying listening to this.
I know. And also I think, well, at least it'd be quick. It's better than the slow heat death of the planet, I suppose. Over and done with.
Under 21s get some love as well for doing well.
Don't bother with your seatbelt, it's not going to do anything.
You smash into a mountain.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, under 21s and Joffrey get some nominations.
Sat there in a life jacket.
North face of the Eiger.
Yeah. Well, how far from land am I? Oh, about 80 miles. Right, brilliant.
From the sea, you mean?
At least I can bob around. Yeah, Joffrey gets a nomination for at least attempting to kick the ball into the net, which he did very weakly.
Right, hero of the week. Go on.
Is that everyone? Oh, Aronson got some.
Oh yeah,
we need to mention him as well.
We didn't do him enough justice in the match ball, I think, or propaganda, because we got so caught up in the angst of losing that we didn't celebrate his incredible run enough, did we?
Yeah, which was stolen from him, really. Fellows said it was deserved to ping in off both posts, hit the keeper on the back of the head and go in, taking his unofficial goal tally to 3. But it didn't, and it was we didn't give Big Pirate credit for the megs either. It was a nutmeg goal, wasn't it?
There was a nice moment when the camera panned to Aronson just after the celebration, and you could tell he was a little bit annoyed.
You can't help but be a bit disappointed.
I'm glad we've scored, but I really wanted that to be mine.
Right, is one of those two. It's going to be Rasmus or the big sexy pirate or Aronson who gets it.
I'm inclined to go big sexy pirate.
I'd go Rasmus just to encourage him. It's been a bad start. Well, it's not been a great start anyway. I think a bit of it, some improvement there. Keep going because God knows you're going to need it at the weekend.
Did he get caught out for any of the goals? Both of them.
He won't.
I mean, arguably both goals, but
so do you want to hold that against him?
No, I mean the second goal you definitely can't pin on him entirely, can you? Because there were many bits that went wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's the one standout candidate from this week. Although Big Sexy Pirate did score, and it's a tough one.
He made that good block as well, didn't he? That he celebrated. Someone did mention that in the hero nominations. Actually, that him celebrating tackles is kind of fun.
The Sexy Pirate must have had it already by now at some point.
I would think so. Yeah.
All right, let's give it to Rasmus then. Especially given that we know what could happen this weekend. So we want him to be happy for at least a short time.
Okay. And then we can give him the villain next week.
So congratulations to Rasmus Kristensen.
And unlucky that red card for 2 yellows on Saka in the first half hour.
Michael, put on your life jacket. We'll wrap up the show there. We'll be back with more. We've got the match ball after the game on Sunday. That'll be fun.
Yes.
And we will speak to you then.
The Square Ball Podcast.